Hi, hope you all having a good day. In the last shop related video, I repaired the crack on the wall behind me, and it has been 2 weeks and we had a couple of rainy days, but there was no leak after the repair, so the shop is officially leak proof unless proven otherwise. So since the crack is repaired, I can turn my focus on building some shop cabinets. And in this video, I'm going to build a lathe stand slash cart slash cabinet. This is the first of 3 builds for the tools that were here. The other 2 are the drill press and the oscillating sander. So please subscribe if you don't want to miss those videos, and also if you want to support the channel. I have the step-by-step build plan and complete cut list here with me, and it is also available on my website if you're interested in picking it up. Alright, enough with the talking, let's build something awesome. In the plan, I used plywood for the top with hardwood edge banding. But I had these 2x6 offcuts for a few years now, and I thought this was a good project to use them. They were slightly warped and twisted, so I had to take care of that. Using the jointer, I surfaced and squared one face and one edge of each board. Over at the table saw, I cut the boards to width and then ran them through the planer to their final thickness. After milling, it's time for glue up, and when I was happy with the arrangement of the board, I marked them so I don't misplace them later. And by arrangement, I mean both visually and also making sure that the board's grain are in an alternating order. I did this to minimize any chance of bowing or cupping in the future. It is also worth saying that the boards are fairly dry and their movement should be minimum. I decided to use biscuits to join the boards. So here I am marking the location to cut the slots for the biscuits, and I cut the slots using the biscuit jointer. When doing glue up, it's a good idea to cover the bar of your clamps with a masking or a painter's tape. In that case, no squeezed out glue will stick to the bars, and the tape can easily be removed after. I made sure that there was enough glue spread all over the edges and also in the slots and on the biscuits. I used Titebond 3, which has a longer open time, and it just gives you peace of mind when gluing big panels. Since these are soft woods, I used 2 sacrificial thin boards on each side of the panel to avoid getting any clamp mark. While the glue was drying, I turned my focus on cutting the plywood panels for the Carcass and the Drawers. My big desk is fully occupied with tools and machines, so I use this handy centipede portable work stand. It's hard to cut the whole sheet of plywood on the table saw, so I like to first break it down into smaller and more manageable pieces with my track saw. Then over at the table saw, I cut all of the parts to their final dimensions. Using painter's tape and a Sharpie, I mark all the pieces so I don't get confused during the assembly. Alright, all of the parts are cut, but before starting the assembly, I need to do 2 more things. First, I need to cut a groove on one face of the drawer sides and drawer fronts to accommodate the drawer bottoms. And then, since I'm going to use the pocket screws for assembly, I need to drill the pocket holes. I am using 1/2" plywood as drawer bottoms, so I need to cut a 1/2" groove to the depth of 3/8 of an inch. Using dado blades makes this job quick and accurate. I am using these height gauges to raise the blades precisely to 3/8 of an inch. I make a test cut to make sure that the fit is good, then I cut all the grooves on drawer sides and drawer fronts. After that, I used my pocket hole jig to drill all the pocket holes. Everything was going smoothly, but little did I know I was doing something wrong here, which I realized when the damage was already done. Everything was ready for the assembly process, and I started to assemble the first drawer when I realized the mistake that I made, and you can probably see it in my body language. I realized that I mistakenly drilled pocket holes on the drawer sides. Well, I didn't need pocket holes on the drawer sides. Based on my design, only the back side of the drawer back and the front side of the drawer front get pocket holes. I was thinking about cutting new sideboards, but since this is a shop project and no one else is going to see these holes except myself, I decided to assemble the drawers with these boards anyway. Alright, whenever I drive pocket hole screws, I use these pocket hole clamps. They keep the boards in place and don't let them to move during the assembly process. As you can see, the drawer backs are narrower than the other parts of the drawer, and that leaves an opening for the drawer bottoms to slide into the grooves. And then I nailed the drawer bottom into the drawer back. This is the way I build drawer over the years, and it has proven to be pretty strong. After assembling all 4 drawers, I started to assemble the carcass. I fastened the bottom panel to the side panel and then back panel to the bottom and the side panels. Off camera, I attached 2 rails at the top of the carcass from side to side. To install the drawer slides, I used a piece of plywood as a spacer. Before screwing the slides into the sides, I pre-drilled some holes using this self-centering drill bit. I leveled the front end of the drawer slide with the edge of the side panel, drilled some holes, then drive in the screws. I do the same thing for the other side as well as all of the other slides. I use a 1/2 inch offcut to space the drawer from the bottom panel and slip in the drawer into the carcass and on the spacers. To fasten the slides to the drawer, I pulled out the drawer about 4 or 5 inches to drill and screw into the first hole, and then do this again till I completely fasten the slides to the drawer. Here you can see me doing the whole process again. To install the false fronts, I am using these Rockler cabinet drawer installation clamp. Here I am using a piece of scrap plywood to position the clamp in the right place. Then using the inside knob, I clamp it into the drawer sides. Then I slid the drawer false front into the clamps, making sure that the sides of the false front are plumb with the sides of the cabinet. These clamps also have side knobs for micro adjustments. When you are satisfied with the position of the board, you can clamp it into the drawer, then pull out the drawer and secure it with the screws from inside. I pulled out all of the drawers and flipped the carcass to install the casters. I used these 3x3 plywood blocks to install the casters. I was only doing this because my screws were a little long and I didn't want them to protrude on the inside of the cabinet. I wanted to be able to move this cabinet whenever I want, and when it is stationary, I want it to be fixed and without any rocking. That's why I am using these casters. These are heavy-duty leveling casters that have ratchet handles that can be used to adjust the height of the legs. To install the drawer handles, I'm using a simple template to locate the hole locations. I clamp a board from the inside so when I'm drilling the hole, the wood doesn't blow out from the other side. Let's get back to building the top now that the glue is dried. The panel stayed flat, I didn't need any flattening. I cut it into the final dimensions using the track saw. Then I ran it through the drum sander with 80 grit sandpaper to remove any glue marks and make it ready for the final sanding. Then I sand both sides and all the edges with 120 and 220 grit. And finally, I knock off the sharp edges with a small roundover bit. For the finish, I applied 3 coats of dark walnut Danish oil. It's a very easy to apply, it's a wipe on wipe off finish, and the dark walnut stain gives the good contrast with the body of the cabinet. Alright, I want to attach the top to the carcass or the body of the cabinet. If I had made the top out of plywood, I would have just screwed the carcass directly into the top from the bottom. However, since it is not plywood, it may expand and contract over the season. And if it is fastened to the carcass without any room to move, that may cause some issue. So what I'm doing here is to cut a few slots on these rails and then screw through the slots into the top. In this case, the top can expand and contract freely. To attach the top to the body, I made sure that it was sitting in the right place, and then I drove some screws through the slots that I cut earlier. And the only thing that remained after that was putting the drawer back in, and then it is finished. There you have it. The only thing that is left now is to fill the drawers with all the accessories and the cutting tools. If you like this build and want to build one for yourself, I have the plan available on my website. I will leave the link down in the description. And if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.